Hey y'all, welcome back to Pancakes and Pandemonium. If you're new here, I'm Sarah, and this is a What's for Dinner. I have 3 amazing recipes for you. 2 are inspired from 2 of my favorite YouTubers, and 1 is one of my very own recipes. And as you can tell, we're getting started already. So this first recipe is like a Parmesan ranch sheet pan tortellini dinner, and this was inspired by Mindy from Mindy Mom. I love her, and guys, my mind was blown when she told me that you could bake tortellini. Now I will tell you up front, some of the edges were dry, so I do need to play around a little bit. Maybe it just needed more olive oil, or maybe I need to play around with like a sauce or a drizzle. But we just added more olive oil on top with this particular one. But I will say, even though the edges were dry, it's only seemed to bother me and my 9-year-old. Everyone else thought it was delicious. Okay. So, as you can see, I am chopping up baby zucchini. I got these from Trader Joe's, and it was a 10-ounce bag. I'm sure a couple of regular size zucchini would work just fine here in place of it. Just chop them up however you prefer and your family prefers. And then you cover your sheet pan with foil, throw on your chicken. I batch cook chicken, so I can just pull it out of my freezer and you can use rotisserie chicken if that's what you have on hand. I'm going to do a video later on batch cooking and then batch cooking meals, but this is a great example of it right here. But you just pile on your zucchini, and meals like this are great for my family. There's 7 of us, and 3 of my kids are teenagers, and I can use 1 bag of tortellini, which is amazing because I get those on sale. You pile it all in your sheet pan, drizzle on a healthy amount of olive oil. Next time I'll probably use a little bit more, like I said. And then this was fun. I used the Trader Joe's ranch seasoning. You can use a ranch packet if that's what you have on hand, but I love all things Trader Joe's, so I was really excited to use this seasoning. And then we grated on some Parmesan cheese, and I just buy the giant wedge. Oh, I use some Green Goddess too. That's a fun mixture also from Trader Joe's. And then we grated on some Parmesan cheese, some fresh Parmesan cheese, which I just buy a big block from Costco. That is the best price, and it lasts for a long time, and it is amazing flavor. And then I pop it in the oven at 375. Had to cook for about 25 to 28 minutes, and then boom, guys, it was so delicious. I just drizzled more olive oil and a little sprinkle of kosher salt on top of the bowls. And like I said, everybody loved it. I have a real sensitive stomach, and so that's where I had issues with the dry edges, and my 9-year-old is super picky. And he said he liked the flavors, he just didn't like the texture. So I'll be a little more aware of that in the next batch. But the flavors were spot on, and it was such an easy weeknight dinner. You've got to try it. And a huge shout out to Mindy for just being absolutely brilliant. I will be sure to link her video that inspired me in the description box. And next up is a recipe from Christine, a.k.a. the Frugal Fit Mom, who is just one of my YouTube heroes. This is a recipe that she calls chicken roget, and this was a recipe from her childhood, which incidentally reminded me of chicken and rice from my childhood. Now, as you guys know, I have kids who aren't just picky, but with like real sensory issues. So I knew the Cajun seasoning on top would not work for my family, but that was okay. I already knew exactly how I was going to change it up. Guys, nothing went right with this recipe. I asked my 14-year-old to get out chicken. You see that little pack of chicken? She got out one of those. And if you're new here, There's, like I said in the other recipe, there are 7 of us. And 3 of my 5 kids are teenagers. And 2 of those teenagers are boys. And don't be fooled, the teenage girl can put it away just like the boys, and the 2 littles can put it away if they like the food enough. So I was like, and by the way, there was 5 pieces of chicken in that packet, so I was like, what are we doing here, Gracie? So I am mixing up some chicken broth. I use Better Than Bouillon. She used bouillon powder in her recipe, and just like with Mindy's, I will link her recipe in the description box. So, you know, you'll have her recipe and my version, but it is super easy, and I'm going to tell you how long to cook it. You'll see when I pulled it out here, we had to cook it forever because one of the packages of chicken was still frozen, and it was a whole situation. So this dinner takes about an hour to cook when your chicken's thawed. It took about 2.5 hours when it was all said and done for us, probably because I used brown rice, and like I said, the chicken was raw. It was just one of those nights. But it shouldn't take that long for you. But I used brown rice here. Christine used white rice. My husband was recently told by the VA that he is, like, his A1C is high. He is pre-diabetic. So one of the things that we are working on to correct that is like moving refined grains out of our house. So, you know, brown rices, no more white bread, except for my husband hates whole wheat bread, so I told him he could do like the famous Dave's white done right bread. But, you know, stuff like that, and even then I think I'm going to try some different homemade breads. Anyway, off subject. Brown basmati rice, because that's what I had on hand in the pantry that night. I did not have any onions, so I used dried onions. I don't know what was up with this spoon. I don't know why it's so short, and I'd never seen it before, but, you know, we made it work. So we're going to stir that around, just easy, no big deal. And then you're going to put your chicken in your baking dish. This one was a little small but I got it to fit. And then you're going to mix your chicken bouillon broth and your 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, and you're just going to mix them well together. And then you're just going to pour it as evenly as you can over the chicken and rice. And then you're just going to like dust your seasonings on top. I used some of this garlic pepper. I got it from the Dollar Tree, you guys. It's garlic salt with a little bit of pepper in it. Like, I'm not even kidding. So just use garlic salt and a little bit of pepper. And I really love the Trader Joe's Green Goddess seasoning, especially on chicken. It's got a little bit of lemon in it, and it goes really good. Now, I will tell you, like, both of those seasonings have salt, so you want to use them sparingly if you're going to use those in particular, because you can go overboard really easily. Or maybe mix them in a little bowl and then sprinkle them over. That way, you know, you can eyeball it easier and you don't go overboard with the salt. And I love Trader Joe's seasonings, and I am out of Italian seasoning, and I think I'm just going to mix the 3 seasonings you see me using here and make my own Italian seasoning. But you don't have to do that. If you have Italian seasoning, just sprinkle on some Italian seasoning. You don't have to be as extra as I tend to be. Make it easy on yourself. Use Italian seasoning. And then your chicken is going to be thawed. So you're going to put it in a 375 oven and cook it for about an hour. Maybe depending on your oven and the way it heats, an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. And then, guys, I like to serve it with a salad. This particular night, we just served it with, like, fresh veggies, like some sweet bell peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes. And everyone was happy. This was my 9-year-old's first attempt without vegetables. He didn't make it look pretty, but I'm telling y'all, it was delicious. A big thank you to Christine for such delicious inspiration. Okay, y'all, this next recipe comes straight from my brain. It is seafood soup with Red Lobster Cheddar Bay dumplings. Yes, you heard me correctly. This is a recipe that popped in my head back in March, and I didn't make it right away. I got the initial idea and I just kind of sat on it and kept thinking and developing, and it took me a while to pull the trigger on it. I wanted to have it pretty well developed, especially using seafood, and you'll see coming up here I used pretty inexpensive seafood, but still, even inexpensive seafood right now is expensive seafood. So, I wanted to make sure I was making something that the people in my house would eat, and I wanted to feel pretty confident about the recipe because, I didn't want to waste food. I wanted to be sure it was going to be a hit and well developed moving forward. This was canned crab. I used the canned white crab. It is like $2.47 at my local Walmart. And then they substituted, I did a Walmart order, the cooked small peeled into vein shrimp when I had ordered the not cooked peeled into vein shrimp. But it's fine because the canned crab is technically cooked anyway, so they went in at the same time. But if you want to get the raw shrimp, you can. Just know if you get a substitution, or that is all that's available, or the canned shrimp is all that's available, it'll work just fine. And here I am sauteing 3 stalks of celery, a small onion diced up, and a half a stick of butter, and then I threw in a pinch of salt. You'll see coming up, most of the ingredients are really simple. They are just, layered and done so that the flavors can build on each other and really, develop. So you get these layers of flavor, and you guys, it's just really good. So once those get kind of translucent, we're going to add more flavor. We're going to add the garlic. I use the squeezy garlic. Now, we don't want to overpower, so we're going to add about 2 teaspoons worth of garlic, and then we're going to add about 2 teaspoons worth of Dijon. We don't want to go heavy on it. I am sure white wine would be delicious in this recipe, but we don't drink, so I don't have it in my house. But I definitely thought that, invoking those flavors and some acidity would be really great in this. And I've learned through, being a student of Food Network, I could get some of that by using Dijon mustard. Next, I'm going to add some tomato paste. Now, this is not a tomatoey soup, but the flavor that the tomato paste gives this soup is just unmatched. So it's a really important ingredient. I was out of the tube tomato paste, so I had to use a can, but it's about 2 tablespoons worth. And if you have been with me for a while, you know that I am a big believer and pusher for, stir that in and let that tomato paste cook for a couple minutes. Again, learn that from all the Food Network greats. You really want to cook your tomato paste for a few minutes. That's an important step. So, and now we're going to add some spices here before we add liquid. A couple teaspoons of Old Bay. You could probably add more if you want, but I have kids with sensory issues, so I try to go light if I'm worried about it being spicy, and Old Bay can be spicy. And then that is just my old standby Trader Joe's onion salt, and about a teaspoon worth. So you could add regular onion salt, you could add a couple teaspoons of garlic powder, onion powder, and another pinch of salt. If that is all you have. And I like to stir it in at this level, mixes in really good. They toast a little bit, and then you're not adding it on liquid and worried about them floating. When they're added into all the ingredients here, they're gonna mix into your soup really well. Okay, now we are going to start adding our liquids. I'm getting warm water here, and I'm going to add 4 cups of warm water. So I am a huge fan of better bouillon instead of broths and stocks. It's just a cheap way to, I don't want to say cheap because they're not always cheap. They are an inexpensive and cost-effective way to get good stock and broth flavors into dishes. And in this case, I'm going to use their lobster bouillon, and I will link it below. In Texas, I could find it in a couple specialty stores like Central Market, but now that I'm here in Utah, I can only find it on Amazon. And guys, I'm telling you, it's worth it. You could probably use chicken broth and it will probably still turn out really delicious, but I think you're gonna miss some really special elements of flavor by skipping the lobster bouillon. That's my opinion. And it's about $10 for that jar. I think I paid about $10.99, and I have plenty left to make other dishes with. And guys, the flavor was just out of this world. Completely worth it. So I would not skip that step. I don't like fuss with like making a broth in the mixing bowl usually. I just, put the bouillon in the pot and the liquid in the pot. I figure it does the same thing, right? So once you get that in there, you want to let it simmer, kind of cook for a few minutes like that. And then you're going to get your milk. You're going to temper the milk because that's going to be a really hot mixture, and definitely don't want to add milk to a hot mixture. And then after the milk, you're going to add your 2 cups of heavy cream, give it a stir, and then you're going to set your stovetop to low and let that simmer all together while you go make your dumplings. Okay, Red Lobster Cheddar Bay Biscuits. So I grew up with Bisquick dumplings, and when people started, hacking Cheddar Bay biscuits, they used Bisquicks. So I figured this would be pretty similar. Now, this is one of the areas I'm not sure if I'm going to change. I felt like the dumplings could have been a little bit denser, and Ryan and Gracie agreed with me, but everybody else thought they were perfect. So I don't know. But essentially, you are going to put your biscuit mix and the flavoring packet it comes with in the bowl, and then you're going to add a 1/2 cup of sharp cheddar. This is like a Mexican blend cheese because this particular night it was snowing and cold, and it was out in the freezer out on our back patio, and my husband ran out, grabbed the first thing he saw, and ran back in. So, but you know what? It worked beautifully. Okay, next up, I went and grabbed a stick of butter out of my fridge. I didn't feel like it needed to be frozen because we're not making traditional biscuits, but we're gonna grate a 1/2 stick into our biscuits, so it does need to be good and cold and straight out of the fridge. But yep, you heard me, 1/2 stick. Now our biscuits, and then it called for 3/4 of a cup of water. I found it needed a little bit more. I added another 1/4 of a cup, and then it came together and mixed really well. And now the fun part, guys. We're gonna go over and we're gonna start dropping it into our soup. Now you see how the soup is kind of separated? It's all gonna come together. That is the magic of these dumplings. So we're just, spoonfuls. This is like a serving spoon, that comes with your silverware. It's a little bit bigger than the soup spoons. So yeah, I'm just spooning those in there all around, pushing them down in there. And then you're going to turn the oven to medium low, put the lid on, let it cook for 10 minutes, check them. They're going to look a little funky. That's okay. They're supposed to. Let them cook 10-15 more minutes. Guys, they're going to break apart into these smaller dumplings. Look at that soup. It all came together. It is creamy and luscious. And oh my gosh, you guys. Time to eat. Well, you guys, that's all I got for you today. Do me a favor, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and come back. I got more delicious recipes up my sleeve, and I can't wait to see ya. Bye-bye.